I'm just going to walk down here so that I can see the screen. And so this is just what I call the campaign toolbox. It's just that. It's a series of tools that can be used to make a campaign effective, efficient, and ultimately to win or to get social and environmental justice. Administrative. First thing you got to look at, okay, is we're looking at reforming the coalition. The PRDC is back together. Create a mission statement. That's something that we did. Renew 501c3 status. That's being looked into. Elect a board of directors. That's being considered. Seeking an attorney. That's certainly an important part of the puzzle. And then fundraising. This campaign is probably going to go on for another 2 years. And so at some point, you've got to replenish the funds to keep the campaign going. Any questions about this particular slide here? Just call it the administrative component of the toolbox. Yes?
How's the progress on finding an attorney?
Well, I think it's in its preliminary stages. We had one discussion about that subject itself about a week and a half ago, and I think it's on everyone's minds. We certainly have time, but at the same time, we need to look into that intensively, and if the PRDC does decide to litigate, we're going to need a really good attorney, and he or she is out there, and we can get them.
So was there an attorney involved in the original, was there a suit filed, is that correct?
Yeah, there was the lawsuit that we filed with Scott Reed from Coeur d'Alene was our attorney.
Okay. Has he been contacted again? You know?
No, he's pretty elderly. I'm not sure he's still, but we'll find out.
He was ancient in 2003, but he was recently in the paper, I'd say within the last at least 6 months, where he had litigated something in the environmental arena. So he may still be active. He was great. He was wonderful. And had a lot of experience fighting with ITD.
Tim, could you do the next slide, please? Okay, the draft EIS. Request an extension comment deadline. The Sustainable Commission, I don't know if that's its full title for the City of Moscow, is officially drafting a recommendation to the City Council and the City Government itself to request an extension of the comment deadline. The meeting, the ITD meeting is this Wednesday, 2 to 8:30 p.m., Best Western University Inn. The public comment deadline extends for another 30 days. It's February 23rd. So one thing that we talked about to the city, or to the Sustainable Commission at that meeting, is that we feel that in terms of transparency, democracy, and community integrity, that the city should be sitting down with us to get our public input, to talk to us, the people that live here, before they come out with any particular opinion or comments on the draft EIS. And so it becomes a time factor. The city certainly is in a tough spot right now, but heck, if ITD took 8 years to spit out another DEIS, I think we as the public deserve another 30, 45, 60, 90 days to really dissect this thing and come up with a logical decision. And so hopefully city leadership will be just that, leaders, and hopefully they'll request this comment deadline. The ball's in their court, so we'll see. But at least the Sustainable Commission is making a recommendation to the city councilors themselves, and then we'll see what they do. Now with that being said, you can request an extension comment deadline. The PRDC can. But we'll see what the city does. Request multiple meeting locations. In my opinion, ITD is doing a piss-poor job in including all the communities that are ultimately affected by this project. This is not just about Moscow. How about the people from Lewiston that are going to come up the hill? How about the people from Potlatch that are going to go down the hill? How about the people that come in between? I'm not shocked by this because I know how ITD operates. But if I was living in a community outside of Moscow and there wasn't a meeting in my community, I'd be pretty bummed out, to put it politely. So I just bring this up because I encourage people to talk to people that you know in various communities, the greater Palouse, that are concerned about this project. Where's their voice? Why are they not included?
So where do you think the sympathies are going to lie?
You know, and so that's a very good question. The way I look at it, democracy is democracy. And if we're going to call ourselves a democratic country, or if we're going to call ourselves a democratic process, that regardless of people's how they feel about the project, they still deserve a voice. Now the flip side of that is from a campaign strategy perspective, from a group that opposes the E2 alternative, that could work against you. But I think democracy, transparency, voice, and equality is always an important component of a project like this, and I think ITD is doing a very poor job. But that's up to those communities to speak out. We can't speak for them, so we'll see.
Brad?
Yeah.
I'd just like to point out that actually on this meeting on the 23rd coming up, that the ITD has actually made it an all-day sort of thing. We used to have these kind of meetings where people get together and we actually build as a community in a meeting room. But their tactic is to spread us out, so we're coming in all day by ourselves and looking at their little slideshows, and they dilute the public process by doing so. And that we had actually considered whether there would be a time that would be best for most of us to show up at the same time to have verbal comments at that point, because when we don't have each other, when we're making verbal comments, the effect is really nice.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, you talk about communication, and if you get us prompts for those types of things, I don't have too much energy, but I'd like to stay in the loop, and like a Facebook group or something says, come here this time, this is what we're doing.
So what we'll do is, before we get out of here today, we'll just get some scrap paper and a pen. Right now we have a listserv. And that listserv is about 36 people. And so for those of you that are not on that listserv that would like to be, we can get you on that right away. And that right now is our strongest communication tool. But the toolbox will show that we have other tools that we're not utilizing right now. Okay, so we went through this here. Analyzing public safety, analyzing environmental impacts, fiscal responsibility, weather climate analysis, private property, eminent domain, natural history lost of place. So those are all the goods that are packed into the DEIS, and Al and other people. Ultimately, it's all of our responsibility to look into DEIS if you have the time, if you can do it. But certainly an important tool in the toolbox. Tim, next slide. Okay, education and outreach. So this kind of gets to what you were talking about there in terms of inclusiveness, increasing our ability to communicate both efficiently and effectively. A website. Should Paradise Ridge Defense Coalition have a website? It's the 21st century. It is all about social media. Should we get a Facebook page going? Bumper stickers. When I moved to the community here in 2005, I saw the Don't Pave Paradise bumper stickers, and it took me a couple years to get it because I was studying in school and I wasn't part of that campaign. But I guess what I'm saying is the bumper stickers are still everywhere. We've printed out another 250 bumper stickers. They're for free, or you can make a donation that goes into the PRDC treasurer's box. Billboards. Ironically, I find this very ironically, when you're at the southern city limits of Moscow, right to the northwest there, so kitty corner left, is a big billboard. And that billboard actually looks up at Paradise Ridge. Now, there's been various campaigns, such as the Not 1 Acre campaign, Upper Loxaw Land Exchange campaign, that has utilized that billboard to communicate a message. Well, maybe that billboard is something we want to invest in. Then you're looking at costs, you're looking at time, but we have contacts with people that run those billboards, and most importantly, what is that billboard going to say? But so that's a tool. That's a tool that we could use, or maybe we don't want to. Field trips. First field trips today. Just kind of like Cass said, and I really wholeheartedly agree with him, in order to really get to know a place, you got to spend time with it. It's just like your Uncle Bob, or your Aunt Susie, or whoever it may be. Field trips are great in the fact that you can smell it, see it, breathe it, feel it, understand it. the more field trips that we have over the next couple months, even into this summer, I think it will really benefit all people. And so today's first field trip, we'll talk about that after we go here. Community programs. We're having a community program right now. If this coalition, if people in our community want to have more community programming, we can do that. We can just give a full-blown slideshow on this component, or that component. Next thing, radio shows, public service announcements. We are incredibly fortunate to have KRFP Radio Free Moscow here in our community. Not only has Al Poplawski and a few other people been on the radio already within the past couple of weeks, KRFP isn't going anywhere, and a public service announcement is just that. It's kind of a couple paragraphs that explain X, Y, and Z that can be read over the radio. So a great tool. We're so lucky to have a grassroots community radio station here. A citizen petition. Goodness gracious. If you spend much time on a computer these days, there's petitions about everything. They're coming out of people's ears. That's something that we can utilize. Why it's effective? Because it demonstrates in a very short amount of space how many people are opposed to this project. You can do that online. You can also do it with just sign in your John Hancock. Flyers. We've got billboards all over the community. We can post up flyers throughout the campaign. Any questions about education and outreach? Yeah.
We talked about the website, Facebook page, social media. Were you posing a question if there's support for that, or is that something, did there used to be a website for the coalition?
Yeah,
I think,
we have a website.
yeah, David Hall, I believe.
It cost a couple $100 to maintain each year, so after there was no activity with the DEIS for a number of years, we dropped it.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like that's an important starting point, because he can get the message out quickly.
Yeah.
And so if you use other media, if you refer people to a website and Facebook page like right away, I think that'd be very helpful.
I agree. Out of all the things that are in this component of the toolbox, I think the website and the Facebook page are the most important, because that's where people spend their time right now. We all do. Any other points about education outreach, Miss?
Yeah, are you saying that you have the time yourselves to put on a similar program and out on communities like Potlatch, Lewiston? Probably not places as small as Camp Juliana, but you're committed to analyze and effort to do that?
To do some grassroots organizing in those communities?
Well, put on a program similar to.
Oh, that's nothing that we haven't discussed that. As a Moscow community, our coalition would like to do community program within the Moscow community, and hopefully those individuals that are living in other communities other than Moscow, hopefully they'll organize. But that's up to them, in my opinion. We got enough to do in this community. Yeah.
Yeah, but are you referring to his comments about, I think he was indicating that ITD should have hearings in these cases?
Yeah, you see, in my opinion, right, it's the state's job to engage citizens, to engage, quote, stakeholders. Well, it just jumps out at me as a massive failure for a state agency to only offer a public meeting, one public meeting in one location. That is not public scoping, in my opinion. I think a lot of people would agree with that. That's keeping people out of the process and trying to jam the process through. It's a strategy on their part, yeah.
Could you repeat again when the meeting is on the draft DEIS?
Yeah, this Wednesday from 2 to 8:30 p.m. The Best Western University Inn, so it's kind of down there by the Winco. Oh, yeah, and okay, yeah, thank you. So at the public hearing, you will have the opportunity to provide written comments or give verbal testimony to a public hearing officer about the DEIS. You'll be able to give comments during the open microphone sessions held at 3 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. So this is what Cass was talking about. Up until recently, public hearings were just that. They were legitimate. And it gave a community an opportunity to listen to other people's concerns. And it's just that. It's a mind or an idea sharing forum in which we're all supposed to walk out of there much more informed. regardless of you're for the project or against it. Well, a strategy that's happening more often than not is that you conquer by dividing. And if I come up to ITD, Mr. ITD, and I voice my concerns, you never hear them. And therefore, you cannot consider that point. And therefore, as a campaign or as a community, it decreases your ability to be effective and to be united. Yes?
So could we spread the word that people come at 3 o'clock and they come at 5:30?
Yeah.
And one after another, we stay and hear each other.
Yeah. And so Cass has talked to us about this, and to me, it's a wonderful idea. It all comes down to what time can you get there? I mean, we all work, we have families, we've got all sorts of responsibilities. So some people, maybe what we could do is try and arrange a block of people to show up at 3 and a block of people to show up at 5:30, and therefore we can feed off of each other. But I don't know what people's schedules are like, so.
Yeah, well, come at 3 o'clock and the people who work come at 6:35 or whatever.
I think the 5:30 is going to be packed.
Come
Yeah.
both if you can.
Yeah, come at both.
Both these, yep.
I just want to make a request. I put my email there on a list. I wonder if you can send out the link to that public report. I would like to have a chance to at least get a skim at it.
Sure,
And
sure.
also, could you email maybe your PowerPoint out, because I'd like to prepare a written statement that's
Great.
not wishy-washy, but kind of based on some facts.
Yeah.
You picked up the sheets over there.
Yeah, some of the stuff. Like especially that map with a spread.
Yeah, I'll save the presentation as a PDF, we'll make it a lot smaller and send it to you that way.
Excellent, thank you.
So Lee just told me here that the link is US95 thorncreek.com. So if you can remember that, that's the link to the project, I guess. But we can get you to that link. Okay, we can get you that link. We also have copies, CD copies here of the draft environmental impact statement. So you won't even need a link, but we only got 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
But they're intended to share with the public today. Yeah, Miss.
Regarding the schedule on the 23rd, Juanita Liftard is going to be there at about 3 o'clock. She's teaching, and that's the earliest she could be there, but she'll be there to answer questions about her.
Great. Great. Yeah, I saw Juanita last night, invited her here today, not even knowing that she had prepared the 05 report, but certainly Juanita knows this project probably as good as anyone, and so it's good to know. 3 o'clock, Juanita will be there. Yeah, Cass.
I just wanted to point out to everybody here that actually this coalition met for its first time a week and a half ago. We haven't elected officers or anything like that. We're just running off the seat of our pants, and that you people, the reason we're here is to recruit you guys to all join, and we can find officers and become more and more organized as we go. But this is an organizational meeting.
Right.
This has just started, and
So sign up to be on the listserv,
Yes.
and we have the sign up right here.
Tim, can you do next slide? Yeah. And so part of the idea of just presenting this campaign toolbox is to encourage members, folks that are here right now, to become more active in the coalition so that we can ultimately be more effective and get more things done. So media relations, certainly letters to the editor. Write. There were 4 or 5 letters to the editor in the newspaper this week. We know what they said. So it's important that people use that as a tool. News releases. The Paradise Ridge Defense Coalition will be issuing news releases throughout this campaign, all throughout regional media outlets. Editorials, guest opinions. Al Poplawski has one that was just submitted to the Moscow Pullman Daily News. Basically how it works is you can get a guest opinion in a newspaper in 2 ways. And some newspapers are different than others. Number one, you can be, I guess you could say, an expert or well-spoken or educated in a particular subject, and you can apply and say, yeah, I want to write about this subject. I have this type of background. I think that's how it works. And then the newspaper would say, yes, you look like you would be a good person to write an article. Or my understanding is that if you get mentioned or slang terms, you get called out. by someone specifically in a letter to the editor or an article, you are then given an opportunity to respond. And so what I think was really stepped over the line is that Al Poplawski was pretty much called out twice this week and linked rather directly to indirectly to people dying on a highway. So Al now has been given an opportunity to submit an editorial. So we'll see that in the Moscow Pullman Daily News this week. Marty Trillhouse, whether you like him or not, in my opinion, he's a very good investigative reporter that writes, he's pretty much the opinion editor for the Lewiston Tribune. And in my opinion, we need to approach Marty with our concerns, with some of the flaws that we see in this draft environmental impact statement, to see if Marty will come out and support us and spread the word. Betsy Russell with the Spokesman Review. In my opinion, another very good reporter, investigative reporter. She's got a blog that's called Eyes on Boise. Well, this project is in Moscow, but the shots are called in Boise. So I think Betsy Russell would be interested in this story. Last but not least, Lee Robartes, who's standing right next to me here. Lee's the station manager for KRFP Moscow. One of the best things about him is that he cares about this community and he's very active in following issues. We could send information to Lee Robartes that eventually could be included in news reports on the radio station. So I listed those three people specifically because over the past few years I've seen how active they are on issues and in my opinion how good of a job they do in actually bringing truth, transparency to issues. Any questions about media relations? Yeah. Yeah, okay. You're right. Yeah. Yeah, that's an excellent, that's a must. That's a very good idea.
And beyond, it seems like people are basically picking up on, oh, they want to carve a road over this, rare remnant mountain. Because, it's another industrial corridor. So it could be a story from the outside, too.
Okay, next slide. I think I got one more. Political pressure. This is many times where the battles are won or lost. Mayor Cheney. Mayor Cheney has agreed to sit down with members of the PRDC, and we are trying to meet with Nancy possibly next week. That meeting is open to anyone that's involved with the coalition. We still got to figure out the when and where, but we are looking at meeting with Mayor Cheney this week. Moscow City Council. Councilman Walter Steed was quoted in the newspaper about 2 weeks ago. He doesn't really give a damn where it's built, he just wants it built. Well, that doesn't cut it. Not even close. So what we need to do, and we talked about this earlier, is that we need to get this issue before City Council. In my opinion, City Council and the City of Moscow need to hold their own public hearings or meetings with us community members before they voice their opinion on this matter. So how that works is we got to get it on Moscow City Council's agenda, and like we mentioned earlier, the Sustainable Commission, some of us attended that meeting. We requested that they make a recommendation that the City Council, before they do anything, is ask for more time. Latah County Commissioners. I think this is a very important component because we talked about it earlier. Latah County eventually will be footing the bill to maintain the E2 alternative. Maybe they maybe they'd be footing some of the bill or X amount of the bill for C3 or W4, I'm not sure. But Latah County Commissioners are people that we should sit down and speak with and ask some questions. State Senator Schmidt, State Representative Ringo and Agidius, certainly those are individuals that we can meet with. And then Idaho Fish and Game. I put Idaho Fish and Game on here because Idaho Fish and Game is against the E2 alternative for all of the habitat things that we talked about. So, if anyone knows anyone from Idaho Fish and Game, particularly if they are retired, those individuals may be willing to speak. Possible allies. Any questions about political pressure? And there might be more individuals. I just put these down. These are just what flew out of my head. Political pressures everywhere. Moscow Chamber of Commerce. Other people that have some muscle when it comes to decisions being made. Yeah.
Brett, with respect to the county commissioners, I'll just say that the Blue Spray Foundation worked pretty closely with the planning commissioners and then with the county commissioners to adopt language into the Lake County General Plan this past year concerning the importance of blue spray in this county. And it was all adopted, it's in their plan.
So is this a land use plan?
It's the Lake County General
Gotcha.
Plan.
Okay.
It's the blueprint that governs.
Right. So what's interesting about this here is just that. Tim just said it. If that plan says one thing, but the Lake County Commissioners come out and say another thing, then they've got some questions to answer. And we got to put some pressure on them.
I'd like to suggest also on February 1st and 2nd, Kaiushka from Envision Spokane is part of the whole national network of community environmental legal defense fund. He's going to be talking about a community bill of rights, and it might be a way that the local jurisdictions like the city or the county could push back against the state doing things that we don't want to see happen more or less in our own local jurisdictions. So it'll be a Friday evening, and then the next day will be sort of a workshop for folks that would actually like to get something like this on the ballot and carry it forward. It's happening in 150 places all over the country, and it's proactive. It's setting up your own local community bill, like Declaration of Independence, essentially. So check it out. It might be one of our tools.
This guy's incredible.
Ellen, would you repeat the dates of that?
Yeah, it's Friday evening at 7, February 1st, and then Saturday morning from like 9 until 12:30, all up in the Fisker rooms, both of them.
So right here, February 1st,
Yeah.
February 2nd. Okay. I think this is the last slide. Tim, do I have another slide there? Yeah, so there you go. I'm going to put the microphone down, but obviously we've got information here. Maybe Cass, Cass Dumrose, did you want to get up right now and just talk to people? We're going to segue into the field trip component, and so Cass Dumrose, property owner that would be affected.